Once upon a time, nestled in a quiet valley, there stood an old mill. A poor but honest miller lived there with his wife. They had everything they needed, yet their fortunes slowly dwindled until they had nothing left but the mill itself. The miller was filled with sorrow. One morning, after a restless night, he went out at dawn. As he stood on the bank of the mill pond, a beautiful woman rose from the water. Her long hair cascaded over her shoulders, covering her body. The miller knew at once she was the Nixie of the mill pond, and he was terrified. But she spoke to him in a gentle voice, asking why he was so sad. The miller, emboldened by her kindness, told her of his disappearing fortune. The Nixie smiled and said, "I will make you richer and happier than you have ever been. But you must promise me the first young thing born in your house." The miller thought, "What can that be but a puppy or a kitten?" He agreed to the deal and returned to his mill, his heart lightened. When he reached home, his maid ran to him with joyous news. His wife had given birth to a beautiful baby boy. The miller was horrified. He had unknowingly promised his own child to the Nixie. He rushed to the mill pond to tell his wife what had happened, and they both fell into despair. Yet, strangely, fortune returned to the mill. Wealth and prosperity filled their home, but they found no joy in it. They lived in constant fear for their son, warning him never to go near the water. The boy grew into a handsome and skilled young man. He became a great hunter, and his reputation spread throughout the land. He eventually married a lovely maiden from a nearby village, and their love was deep and true. They lived happily, but the young hunter always remembered his parents' warning. One day, while chasing a magnificent stag, he followed it deep into the forest. The chase was long and tiring. When he finally brought down the animal, he realized he was far from home, and his hands were stained. He searched for water to wash himself, and stumbled upon a clear, still pond. Not recognizing it as the dreaded mill pond of his home, he knelt and dipped his hands into the water. As he did, the Nixie rose from the depths. She laughed and wrapped her wet arms around him, pulling him down into the water. He was gone in an instant. That evening, when the hunter did not return, his wife grew frantic. She searched everywhere, calling his name, but found no trace. In her heart, she suspected the Nixie of the mill pond was to blame. She ran to the water's edge, crying out for her husband. She paced the bank, weeping and praying, until exhaustion overcame her, and she fell into a deep sleep. In her dream, she found herself climbing a treacherous, rocky path. At the top, she saw a little cottage, where an old woman with white hair sat, beckoning her. When she awoke, she knew what she had to do. She set off at once, and after a long journey, she found the very path and the cottage from her dream. The wise old woman greeted her kindly. She listened to the wife's sorrowful tale and gave her a golden comb. "Wait until the full moon rises," she said. "Then go to the mill pond, sit on the bank, and comb your long black hair with this comb. When you are done, lay it by the water." The hunter's wife did exactly as she was told. She went to the pond under the full moon and combed her hair with the golden comb. When she placed it on the bank, the water began to bubble, and a wave rose, carrying the comb away. A moment later, the head of her beloved husband appeared above the surface. He looked at her with sorrowful eyes for a brief moment before a second wave crashed over him, and he was pulled back under. The pond was still once more. Heartbroken, but not defeated, the wife returned to the wise woman. This time, she was given a golden flute. "Wait for the next full moon," the old woman instructed. "Sit on the bank and play a beautiful melody on this flute. When you finish, lay it on the sand. The wife followed the instructions perfectly. As she played, the water stirred, and a wave brought the flute into the depths. This time, her husband rose from the water, all the way to his waist. He reached out his arms to her, but another powerful wave pulled him back under. Distraught, she made the journey to the wise woman a third time. The woman gave her a golden spinning wheel. "All is not yet complete," she said. "Wait for the full moon, take the spinning wheel to the bank, and spin until the spool is full of thread. Then, place it by the water." The wife did as she was told. As she set the full spinning wheel on the bank, the ground began to tremble. The water of the pond rushed up, not in a wave, but like a mighty flood, sweeping her away with it. When she came to, she found herself in a vast, beautiful meadow, filled with flowers. The sun shone brightly. She wandered for what felt like an eternity, until she saw her husband. He was tending a flock of sheep. They ran to each other and embraced, overjoyed to be reunited. But they were not free. An enchantment held them in this strange land. One day, the hunter said, "I must become a flower." He transformed into a single red blossom in the field. He told his wife, "A great beast will come to trample this meadow. Run to it and pluck me, and the spell will be broken." She waited, and soon, a huge bull charged into the meadow. Just as it was about to crush the flower, she darted forward and plucked it. In that instant, her husband was restored to his human form, and she was transformed into a flower beside him. Then, she told him, "A great bird will come to eat the flowers. When it swoops down to me, catch it, and we will be free." Soon, a giant griffin flew down. As it tried to peck at the flower, the hunter leaped and seized it by the neck. The spell was finally broken. They found themselves back in their own world, standing together, hand in hand. The sun was shining, and their home was just a short walk away. They returned to find everything had changed. Their parents were long gone, and their home was old and weathered. But they were together, and that was all that mattered. They lived the rest of their days in peace and happiness, their love having conquered the magic of the Nixie and the trials of time. Their story became a legend, a testament to the power of love, sacrifice, and the courage to never give up, even when all hope seems lost. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this tale, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories from the world of folklore and fairy tales.
Good night from Sleepy Tale.